He's the one, the only Mike O'Neill, Vice President of Legal Affairs at Landmark Legal and the Ronald Reagan Legal Center. I found a way to get him on the show again here this month because he keeps having so many good topics. How do you say no to him? Hi, Mike.
Hey, Fawn. Good to be with you.
Thanks for being here. All right, preserving American jobs by eliminating one key program. I looked at that and I thought, I wonder which one it could be. What are we talking about here?
There's you could do this by a lot, but there's an easier one. There's kind of some low-hanging fruit out there, and some of these statutory programs, these visa programs, we're talking about importation of non-American workers, foreign workers into the United States, which we're seeing all kinds of news talking about this, right? There's the recent disclosure that there's rampant fraud in the H-1B visa programs, that some of these individuals who are coming into the country don't have the credentials, that are under false pretenses, under falsely verified credentials. So necessarily whether doctors have the credentials that are necessary to be certified as doctors, there's all kinds of stories about that floating around. But this is involving a different program, and this is a regulatory program. Now, what do I mean by a regulatory program? I mean a program created by an administrative agency, not created by Congress. And so inevitably, if an administrative agency like the Department of Homeland Security, which has created this program, establish it via regulation, then that administrative agency can cancel it through the Administrative Procedure Act. You don't need an act of Congress to cancel this program. It's a lot less work, in other words. Let me just bottom line it here. Now, what am I talking about? I'm talking about something called the Post-Completion Optional Practical Training Program, or Post-Completion OPT program. What does it allow? It allows individuals who are students here who come to the United States to study under the F-1 visa. That's your student visa category here. You come to the United States, you study, you're enrolled in the university, you graduate from that college or university, have a degree, whether it's a master's degree, an undergraduate degree, or a PhD. You're allowed under the post-completion OPT program to remain in the United States for up to 3 years in certain fields, in STEM-related fields, for example. You're allowed to remain in the United States for up to 3 years and obtain employment in any kind of company you can obtain employment with. Well, that's problematic for a couple of reasons. Number one, when you're admitted into the United States as a student under the F-1 visa, you're here to study. You're not here to work. Number two, we already have visa programs that are applicable to employment for foreign workers, particularly the H-1B visa. There is no statutory authorization. In other words, Congress is the body that regulates who comes in here and how many people come in here to work, not the Department of Homeland Security. So it's one of those separation of powers issues. Number three, it displaces recent college American graduates. So if you're an American who graduates with a STEM degree, you're already facing an uphill battle with AI and the advent of AI, and that's already costing a lot of jobs in the tech industry and the science industry. Now you're having to compete on top of that, you're having to compete with foreign workers who are here pursuant to a program that the Department of Homeland Security instituted because tech companies love it. And why do tech companies love it? Well, tech companies love it because they have leverage over these individuals. They're foreign workers. They're here for 3 years, and their presence in the United States is contingent on their employment with these companies. Number two, tech companies like it because they don't have to pay employment taxes on this. Social Security, these individuals are exempt from Social Security taxes, so there's no matching. So it's cheaper to keep these individuals employed with it. And finally, this is probably really problematic, and this has just come out in the past week. This post-completion OPT program is ripe with fraud. Director of ICE, Todd Lyons, just announced at a press conference about a week ago that they had identified at least 10,000 incidences of fraud in this program. So it's fraudulent. It costs American taxpayers. It costs American workers jobs, and it's outside the statutory authority of the DHS. Kind of hits all those markers for cancellation.
Yeah, your phone's a little muffled. I'm not sure why.
I apologize.
Yeah, but I can hear what you're saying. I just wanted you to be aware. I did have somebody on from the North American. They're trying to get something set up between Mexico and America where they can have visas who are skilled, who come in for a certain reason to work, where they get the same wage as an American would get, and they can send the money home if they want to because it's their money. They're here working legally under a certain visa, but they're trying to get it set up so that people aren't trying to work under the table for a cheaper wage so they can send money out without paying taxes and helping America with our economy as well as their own in Mexico. It's good for both countries. Do you agree with that?
It depends on the program, again, and it depends how it's set up. I think, again, here I start with who's doing it, how's it being done, and why is it being done. first of all, is it being done through the proper procedures? Again, as I said before, is Congress doing it? If Congress has the authority under the INA to set new visa categories, and also has the authority to determine set the number of people who come into the country, and that fluctuates. You'll see H-1B visas admittance varies from will vary in any given. I don't think it's year to year, but periodically will change the number of people who come in here. And then again, whether they're supplanting American workers. If there's a recognized need, and let me be clear on this, if there's a recognized need for a certain foreign worker, then there's a recognized need for a certain foreign worker. But companies have to do their due diligence here. The primacy should be to an American worker, right? If you're going to allow a foreign worker to come in and work in the United States under a visa, then the onus is on the company to establish that there's no American worker that could fulfill that job. Again, the priority here is to American workers first and foremost. I'm not saying that foreign workers don't have a place in our economy. I'm saying the priority should go to American workers, and then in the absence of availability of an American worker, then a foreign worker can fill the gap. Finally, these programs need to be verified and ensure that they're not fraudulent. I mean, we just saw H-1B visas, as I said, 100,000 fraudulent credentials. So it seems like so many of these programs are so ripe with fraud. Inevitably, you get these horror stories of false companies that are employing individuals or false managers, and it's just rampant with fraud. Mm-hmm. So if it's on the up and up, then I'm not against it in principle. But again, a lot of check marks have to be made.
Yeah, and the check marks are the thing. And I think the group that I talked to is very above board. And he said he's very, very tired of Mexico, basically starving to death because people are coming up here working for almost nothing, sending the money back. They're not paying taxes here. That's making people mad, so nobody wants them here at all. Now they can't get across the border, so nobody's eating in their families down there. He said there's got to be a way for us to set up something where they get the same wage as anybody else. They have to be hired legally. They have to pay taxes. They have to have a visa. They can't overstay it. If they do, they either go to jail or they get kicked out and deported. They can't hide because you can track them because of their information. And he said they want to do it to benefit both countries and not put anybody who should be paying taxes off of that list who's getting paid under the table. And it really, when I was talking to him, Mike, it sounded like a pretty good idea as long as Americans who are seeking work aren't not getting it because there's too many of them here. So I think it should be limited. It should be in the areas only.
And you kind of have you talk about some power brokers behind this. I mean, you have, obviously, this isn't necessarily even a Republican-Democrat thing, because you have a lot of Republicans who are supportive of these sorts of programs like post-completion OPT, because it helps a lot of big corporations, right? Mm-hmm. It helps a lot of these companies are able to employ people in a manner that's considerably cheaper than employing an American worker, which I think is problematic from a national standpoint. Yeah. But that derives a lot of powerful interests in this. Any effort to try to cancel this program will be met with stiff resistance from very powerful tech companies who utilize the post-completion OPT program, what I was talking about before, as this kind of pathway into H-1B visas and allowing more and more people to have these cheaper workers in the United States. So it's an uphill battle with a lot of this stuff, but I think that you're seeing, I keep going back to this over and over again, you're just seeing so much fraud in so many of these programs, and that the chickens have really kind of come home to roost in this, and that you're going to need to take some drastic measures on this. And identify, and again, we're talking about here with post-completion OPT, these are STEM issues. They're already fighting with, you're an American worker, you're an American kid, you graduate from a college or a university with a STEM degree, a chemical engineering degree, or a computer science degree. You're already facing the headwinds of AI and how that's going to be implemented in your industry. That's bad enough. Now you're having to compete with you have to compete with somebody else who's going to who the company is going to pay less money to, or is going to be a less cost to the company. Where are the priorities here? It's pretty well established that some of these industries some of these college graduates are having a lot of trouble finding their jobs. I think in the top. 10, 2 or 3 of those are tech industry related. So imagine the shoes that those individuals are sitting in right now.
Right, and I agree 100%. And you know that went up exponentially when the border was wide open from what did you say, 62,000 to almost 100,000? I mean, it went shabam. I mean, it just took off. And I think it's great that there are that many smart people who want to work and do things, but why can't they do it in Mexico? Why don't they have somewhere down there to do it? And let's be honest, it's not just Mexicans; it's people from all over the world who are coming in to do this. So, if we could just find a way to make sure that our people are taken care of first, and I don't say that one person has more value than another, but America comes first to me. And that's just the way it is. And so I really feel like Americans should have the first stab at the job. That should be one extra point for them if they are the better candidate. But in the STEM areas. But there are jobs. And let's be honest, Americans don't want to do them unless they're paid a very handsome penny to do some of the jobs. And those are the ones the dude I had on said they want to come up and do landscaping. They want to come up and do these other jobs. And they're willing to get paid more and pay taxes under a certain kind of agreement. But when it comes to STEM stuff, we need to be looking at home first.
Right. Yeah, and I think you see the problem metastasized. In the priority, you have to identify what's the priority of an administration. Is you're going to put American workers first, or you're going to put maybe corporate interests first? And I think I think you have to identify the priority is American workers first. Mm-hmm. And what I was saying before is, it's not going to take an act of Congress to revoke post-completion OPT. It's just a decision by the Department of Homeland Security to take the administrative steps to begin the process of canceling the program. And it won't take a lot. The question is what's the legality here? And inevitably, if the program were canceled, then would there be a lawsuit, and whether that lawsuit would have merit? I think that there's a lot of authority that would support the DHS's power to revoke this. This isn't something that Congress has said you have to do, which, again, that's a law. Revoking the H-1B visa program, look at what happened just the other day with the judge saying that you can't have the $100,000 fee. That's a whole different ballgame. There's Congress acting here. There's the president acting. There's those interactions between the two branches. With this case, post-completion OPT, which incidentally is a very big program. We're talking about 100,000 workers. Yeah. It's just as big. It rivals H-1B, which is another one that, the big one that everybody talks about. So post-completion OPT is it's obscure. It's not on a lot of people's radar, but it's a very large program that employs tens of thousands of workers. And again, these highly technical fields where these are ostensibly good jobs. You're talking entry-level jobs, tech jobs in big tech companies, Google, Amazon, etc., which are sought out after by American workers.
Yeah. So bottom line is America first. If you are an American, you go to the front of the line. And I would like to say no offense to foreign workers, but I don't actually care if you're offended because you're in America. Yeah. So America first.
Yeah, most of these, like everything, H-1B and F-1 and F-1 student visas and OPT all begin under the most, idealistic circumstances. Certainly we want to allow people to have training while they're here in the United States in these jobs, of course. But of course, as everything, certainly we need H-1B visa workers because we need highly specialized trained individuals who we don't have the American jobs for them. So we need to bring those folks into America to get us to rise everybody up. But of course, inevitably, these all morphs into these, kind of grotesques where you're having to deal with fraud and abuse and everything that we're seeing here. So I think it's time to, prioritize the American worker, cancel post-completion OPT.
Yeah, we can't even get them to be honest about daycare, so we got to be careful.
Yeah,
all right.
Sure.
Mike O'Neill, Vice President, Legal Affairs, Landmark Legal, preserving American jobs, eliminating this one key program where everybody is going to school for science and technical and math and stuff like that because they think that's where the high-paying jobs are, and they are, and Americans should have first stab at them. Mike, thank you for your time today. You are the best.
Take care, Fawn. I'll talk to you later.
Okay.
Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.